Round 7 of the Lotus 79 Classic Teams Championship brought the series to the infamous Nurburgring. With Michel Vandenberg starting on pole and QC Clapp next to him on the front row, it was a clean start for all drivers. Unfortunately, the first lap itself was not without incident. Justin Albrecht ran into trouble at Ashbrook, Keith Herner and Luis Baboni came together at Ehrenberg, and Steve Sarles applied a hair too much throttle at Oudenauer Forst. But the most dramatic wreck on our first tour was when Adam Fraser made a move on Barry West into Hohenrad and the two collided. Sadly, Pekka Kelleher was unable to avoid the carnage. Up at the front, Vandenberg immediately started to pull a gap over the next few laps. Back and forth, John Stevens had shaken the challenge by Severi Seppa, only to be caught by Alexi Heinonen. Buckling under the pressure, the ice curve proved to be a little too slippery for the number 5 car. Farther down the order in 5th, Pablo Suarez, Ove Trangarate, Ronnie Nunez, and Kevin Kolsch had been almost inseparable. But an error by Ove on lap 4 whittled it down to 2 as Nunez found himself having to check up to avoid the Norwegian. Ronnie made a great recovery to catch Kevin and pass him on the Dottinger Hoa, but his attempts to hound 5th away from Suarez only left him slapping the Armco and Metzgefeld on lap 6. After gritting up 9th, Heinonen looked set to take a well-earned 3rd, only to become the next victim at Oudenauer Forst. This promoted Seppa up to the final podium spot. Meanwhile, Trangarate was not going to let his mistakes define him and chased down Kolsch and Suarez. First, he used the slipstream to overtake Kolsch for 5th. Then, he tried to do the same to Suarez, only to be denied in the final laps. In the end, Vandenberg romped to a dominant victory by over 30 seconds while never once being hassled. Clapp solidified a quiet 2nd place, finishing where he started. And Severi made a satisfying jump from 5th to take 3rd. While the fans may have hoped for a closer battle up front, the challenge of the ring certainly provided enough to keep everyone busy simply fighting this monstrous track.
Konnichiwa and welcome to the first week of a Japanese doubleheader for the Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship as we arrive in Motegi for round 9 of the season here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Samuel Ryman and alongside me in the booth is Richie Hearn. Behind the scenes is our director Amjad Yamin using camera sets provided as always by Dougie Beard. Richie, the Motegi circuit may get overlooked by racing fans in favour of the more famous Suzuka circuit to the south, where we'll be at next week. However, we have seen some memorable races here in the past, and with just 4 rounds remaining in the championship, we have all the ingredients for another cracker here today.
Yeah, Sam, thank you. Yeah, this place is beautiful. It's I think it's very underused. A lot of good passing zones in this track. We're at 2.98 miles, 14 turns. It does have the 1.5 mile egg-shaped oval that the track goes underneath twice. Has plenty of long straights, and like I said, has multiple passing zones. Most notoriously in turn 1, turn 3, turn 5, and probably the best passing zone is that downhill section into turn 11. But probably the best way to get a look at this track is let's jump on the GSRC lap guide.
Alright, we've got Kevin Brown in the GSRC BMW, so let's do a lap around Motegi. Coming down to turn 1, we'll turn a full 180 degrees around a double apexer. But because the curve is so gentle, it's kind of a medium speed corner. Pass attempts will need you to be well up the inside if you don't want your nose chopped off. If anything, it's a lot more important to square off the exit right so that you get a good launch down this next stretch. See, turn 3 is a bit sharper, so it's a slightly better opportunity to execute an overtake. Now, even by yourself, 4 will be tricky. Just a little lift and then try your best to carry as much speed as you can onto the 3rd long straightaway in a row. You're certainly not shy of chances to make a pass happen because turn 5 is sharper yet again. With the track switching direction, it's easy to hold left to defend, but just be wary not to outbrake yourself. Your opponent could pull an over-under and take you on the exit. 6 is a flat-out gentle bend that will lead into the 7 and 8 complex. These are 2 of the trickiest bends on the track. This is a medium-speed S-curve that looks simple enough, but lures you into getting onto the power too quickly with its longer second half. And if you find yourself being hounded, that's a very bad move to make. Turn 9 is a sharp left-hander that, despite the short run, is prone to surprise passes. but it's a decreasing radius, so it has its own set of challenges without fending off your opponent. Should you find yourself taken down a notch, the good news is that turn 10 can provide easy redemption. It's a long, slow horseshoe hairpin with a good-sized braking zone, so having a go on entry can work. But at the same time, you can square off the second half and get a great launch, creating an opportunity to outdrag someone down to 11. But you're not scot-free from there. 11 has a bit of a downhill braking zone, and even though there's plenty of sand trap to save you if you overshoot it, you'll lose precious time getting back to the track. Now, we head back under the oval into the infield where we hit the final chicane. The jink to the left right before you brake means a stable car during deceleration will be extra valuable. Be careful not to wander into the weeds on the exit. Straighten the car out and ride it home to the start-finish line. You've then finished a lap around Twin Ring Motegi.
So we have a former IndyCar Series driver in the booth. We have myself, a Lionheart Retro Series driver in the booth. But GSRC won't trust us to drive one of their Lotus 79s around this track ahead of a race. So we had to get Kevin in a BMW there. But he'll have plenty of time to learn the track with us today with these Lotus 79s, a 26-lap race coming up. Let's take a look at some of the big names in it with our championship standings. Here we are taking into account at this point of the season all 4 drop weeks. Now, of course, there are still 4 races left to go in the season, so these points are going to fluctuate quite a bit in our upcoming rounds. But what is definitely apparent here is that Prix still has a handy points lead over Anti-Lepisto. Also behind him there, you see Martin Granberg, who has been consistent throughout the season, although hasn't been in as many races as others, but has put on solid performances when he's shown up. John Stevens, normally see him running up towards the front, and it's paid off with him in the standings. And likewise, Pablo Suarez, who John Stevens just moved ahead of in the standings, up to 4th place there. It always seems we're seeing those two quite close on track together, Stevens and Suarez. Let's have a look at the team standings. This is called the Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship for a reason. These are based off of the 1980 Formula One World Championship teams, and it has been a close fight between Ligier and Ferrari all season long, with Ligier having the upper hand with just 4 rounds left. However, I know there's been a little bit of attendance issues, it seems, between the Ferrari drivers throughout the season. I do see Friesch here today and Steve Salas, so we'll see if those guys are able to pull the Italian team back up into the top spot. And there you see McLaren, Ram and Team ATS rounding out the top 5 victory.
Yeah, it has been a little bit hit or miss for some of these drivers for the Ferrari. I know Steve Salas has been out there, but definitely Gernau's the stronger driver. So with both of them in this race here, we should be able to close that gap to the Ligier, which is going to be a tight battle all the way to the end.
And speaking of the Andretti, as we mentioned a couple of times, we're closing in on the end of the season. Let's have a look at our race details.
Yeah, we're already at round 9 of 12. Time flies by pretty quickly here. They do have 4 drop weeks for each driver and 2 for the team. That will be calculated a little bit more near when we get to the end. This race is going to be 26 laps. The setups are open. They do not need to stop for fuel or tires. We do have our standard 17 incident points, so anything more than that, you'll be disqualified. And, of course, they use the official iRacing point system.
And there could be some good points up for grabs today. Now, this is just a single split of 20 cars going on, but you could be mistaken, much like we may have been a little bit last week, that this is a top of 2 split or something along those lines, because we have some huge names in the field, including a couple of names we haven't seen this season. The one most notable to me right now is Sergio Macias in the number 2 car. I don't think we've seen him at all this year, but we are very well familiar with that driver, and right now he's proven he hasn't lost any pace, just a couple of tenths off of Gernot Friesch's pole time.
No, that's good to see, because lately Gernot's been able to just kind of get out in front and pull away, so hopefully you see a good battle. One person I don't see in there who I saw in practice was Anti-Lepisto, so I don't know if he's decided to join the race or not, but do have some good drivers out there. Looks like Barry West has got put in a good time. He's up into 8th spot. He's always in our series here. And like I said, Steve Sarlis up there in 13th, teammate to Gernot Frisch.
Currently looking at Jean-Francois Matt on the track, currently 9th in qualifying. That's what you're watching right now, is the qualifying for this race. In iRacing, they do it right before the race session starts, and Gernot Frisch has just reset the pole time at a 1:37.5. That's why you see that purple fastest lap there at the top of the screen. Each of the drivers has 8 minutes to turn in 2 timed laps. And right now, that 1:37.5 is going to take some beating.
Yeah, he laid down the law right there, about half a second up on Sergio. I don't know if Sergio's out there right now running. Doesn't look like he is. So he's settled for that second place spot. We're coming right down to the end of this qualifying session. So if you haven't put a time in yet, this is where you're going to start.
Christopher Michael Howard has yet to put a lap in. There he goes. That jumps him up to 14th place in our 21 car field. 18 cars have turned a time. Let's see. Glenn Corrigan is also on track. He is yet to set a time. Let's see what he can do. And here's Johnny Bell.
Yeah, Johnny Bell, currently the number 19 car. He's sitting right at the 18th spot here. So he's going to try to start another lap, but not enough time, so he's going to start 19th. We had a couple drivers not put a time in, Francois Gagne, Glenn Corrigan, and Andreas Nielsen.
Yeah, and iRacing not going to add any extra time for the qualifying, so Glenn Corrigan will not make the end of lap. So let's go ahead and read out our full grid, starting with Gernot Frisch and Sergio Macias on the front row, separated by half a second. Matt Wood will line up third place in the number 3, and Ove Tradre in the number 4 starts fourth. Man, this iRacing thing actually works. Things mixed up on row number 3 though. Pablo Suarez ahead of John Stevens and 6 ahead of a 5 car. Sammy Vellamaki will be starting from 7th place alongside Barry West in 8th. In the number 8, Jean-Francois Matt will start 9th, and Francisco Javier Gutierrez will round out the top 10 with a lap time quite incredibly over 3 seconds behind our pole lap.
Yeah, it's quite a big difference between 1st and 10th spot. Coming in 11th position, we have Robert Simpkins and Kevin Kolsch in 12th. Steve Sarlis in 13th, right next to Christopher Michael Howard. On the row behind them will be Kurt Bennett and Jim Brewster. In the 17th spot will be Russell Hamilton and Johnny Bell. And then, as we mentioned, Glenn Corrigan, Andreas Nielsen, and Francois Gagne did not put in a lap time.
Very, very cold temperatures out here could be contributing to the difference, the spread we have seen between these drivers in qualifying. Maybe some of them weren't quite able to get their tires up to temperature. They're going to hope they're able to do that now, because we are just waiting for one more car to get gridded up there, and then the lights will come up and we will be underway for 26 laps of racing here at Motegi. The run down into the first turn is going to be a tricky one. Very tight braking zone with all those cold tires, and then again, if they all survive that, they've got to make it all the way down to turn number 3, which is likewise going to be a trouble spot. But here we go, the lights are coming up. Frisch on the pole, Macias on the inside behind him, and the lights are off and away they go. And a good start by Macias, but he's not able to pull up alongside Frisch, and the Ferrari driver has the first corner to himself.
Yeah, it looks like everybody's tiptoeing their way through this first turn there, and second turn, as you said, it's only 69 degrees on the track. Oh, we got one guy off in the back there.
That's Steve Sarlis, yep, the other Ferrari driver.
Yep, coming up to turn 3, another passing zone. We have Sergio Macias right behind Gernot Frisch, and so he's challenging him. But like I said, it is pretty cold out there, so I wouldn't be surprised kind of these guys taking a little easy on the opening lap.
Another tricky braking zone, turn number 5, but so far we've seen a couple of drivers sliding off in the grass, but all 21 of them still running out here on the circuit as they now work their way into the infield through the S's, all following that number 1 car of Gernot Frisch.
Yep, everybody's kind of nose to tail. Obviously, we had that one off with Steve Sarlis. He does have a little damage on his car, but he's continuing on. Pablo Suarez in his familiar position running in 5th spot or 6th spot, but he's kind of trying to hold off all these guys behind him. That's usually where he's at. He's always trying to hold off these guys. Does a great job with it.
So not a whole lot of position changes on the opening lap, which is great news for some drivers who are a bit lower on the iRacing scale. Francisco Javier Gutierrez started 10th in the number 18 car. He actually jumped up a spot on the opening lap into 9th. Let's see how long he's able to hold on to that. Lap 1 of 26 in the books. It is Feach ahead of Macias, Wood, Trandre and Suarez rounding up the top 5. Let's take a look at what happened at the start here, Richie.
Yeah, let's take a look at the start with Steve Sarlis in that Ferrari. Pretty clean start from everybody. Like I said, really cold temperatures. This car has a lot of power, so it's really easy just to kind of get on it a little too hard, and it kind of looks like maybe that's what happened with Steve.
Hard to tell from that angle. He may have even got a little bit of help. You can see there's a lot of cars crowded together.
Yeah, looks like he just got on the gas a little too hard. I don't know if he got hit from behind, but lost it. He did take some damage into the guardrail on that front wing, but he has continued on even though he's all the way back in 20th spot.
Yeah, so he's already picked off one position there from Russell Hamilton, who rounds out our 21 car field as of right now.
Got a good battle. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, there's plenty of overtaking opportunities here on track, Richie, but it seems in the opening stages, while these tyres are cold, these drivers are opting not to take advantage of them. Maybe get these tyres up to temperature first.
Yeah, it is really cold, so it's going to probably take 3 or 4 laps to get these tires up. Do have a battle here for 7th and 8th spot here with Barry West looking on Sammy Villamaki.
Yeah, Barry West was not too pleased about the lap 1 incident he was involved in at Nurburgring last weekend. However, he's got a nice run on Villamaki here. Let's see if he takes advantage of it. Goes down to the inside, and it looks like Villamaki may even yield that position right now. So Barry West up to 7th. And this is one of the reasons I think West was so frustrated last week, Richie, is he's had a good run going recently.
Yeah, he's been consistently kind of getting better and better, and yeah, he was not pleased with the events at Nurburgring, so moved up back to 8th spot here, basically where he started as a classic move, just kind of outbroke him, and I think Sammy gave him a little bit of space. Got a long ways to go, although right now we got Francois Gutierrez looking at Sammy Villamaki as well, trying to make a move on him, so Sammy's struggling a little bit with these cold temperatures.
Up a couple of positions is Pablo Lumbreras Suarez rounding out the top 5 in the number 6 Ligier. What's significant there, of course, we've been talking about the Ferrari versus Ligier championship battle, and with the fact that Suarez's teammate is Antti Lebisto, who is not here today. Oh, sorry, Howard in trouble. Christopher Howard in the number 20 car.
Looks like that same thing, just kind of got on the gas a little bit hard. I don't think he got hit from behind. I couldn't tell from that angle. These cars have a lot of power, so these tires are pretty hard. So, and he just looks like he just spun it on his own going into the corner.
Yeah, nice job by the rest of the field to avoid him. He dropped all the way back down to 16th place because of that, although now he's already trying to work his way back up through the field. Catch another replay of the incident there. So Christopher Michael Howard now runs back in 15th place. He just got by Johnny Bell.
Meanwhile, up front, Gurno's just kind of left Sergio in the dust there. He's opened up a 1.5 second lead on him. And this is kind of what he does. He just kind of gets out in front and runs those laps. And it's really hard to catch him once he gets in this kind of groove. Sergio is about another 1.5 seconds ahead of Matt Wood, who's another 1.5 seconds, 1.8 seconds ahead of Ove. Everybody's kind of spread out a little bit. Probably the best battle on the track is going to be John Stevens, Barry West, and the Sammy Villamaki battle for that 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yeah, I'm also keeping half an eye on the cars running at the back, starting with Johnny Bell in 16th place. He's got a train of cars behind him. Glenn Corrigan, who was trying to turn in a qualifying time at the end of the session, but wasn't able to pull one off. He's in 17th. Jim Brewster behind him in 18th. Francois Gagne in 19th. And Steve Salis, who has a bit of damage on that Ferrari, of course. He's got to try and find a way by this pack. He's back in 20th right now.
Yeah, Steve's got to try to do some, get some positions back because they're working on that team championship. And with Andy Lepisto not here for teammate to Suarez with the Ligier team, this is a perfect opportunity for them to take that #1 spot. But I think Gurno's going to need a little help from Steve. So just got to kind of hunker down, get as many spots as he can. He's right behind Francois Gagne, so he should be able to get that position. But he does have some damage on the front and rear wing, so I'm sure he's struggling a little bit with that.
Well, it could be offsetting each other. Damage to the front wing creating a bit of understeer, the damage to the rear wing cancelling that out.
Right? Sometimes it works out that way, but I don't think that's what he's thinking about. Got a good battle with those guys right in front of him between Francois, Jim Brewster, Glenn Corrigan, and Johnny Bell. They're all stacked up on each other. So it's a good little battle, even though it's in the back of the field. These guys are racing hard. And there we go. We're going to have a pass for Glenn's going to go around Johnny Bell at the moment.
I can tell you from experience, this move on the outside down into turn 5 doesn't always work. Corrigan got a bit luckier than me. Oh, things getting quite close back here in 18th place. Francois Gagne was a bit late on the brakes than Brewster.
Yeah, that almost cost Steve Sarlis getting right into the back of them. And this is a good little battle here. These guys are fighting hard. And even though this track is really fun to drive, it's tricky. It's so flat on some sections that it's really hard to find your braking zones. And so even though there are some passing spots, it's really hard to be consistent. I've driven here before, and it is very tough.
Battle for 13th place going on.
Little contact between Glenn Corrigan and Jim Brewster kind of sent, looks like it set Jim off, Glenn Corrigan off. Nope. Looks like it set Johnny Bell off the track. Sorry.
Yeah, so we'll get a replay. We were watching two battles there, one going down straight into the hairpin, and this was the other battle with Johnny Bell, as you mentioned, being the victim there.
Yeah, he just kind of got side potted off of the track and a little bit of damage, but he's still continuing on. But that moves Steve Sarlis up one position.
Not missing anything up front. Prix has now opened up that gap to 2.5 seconds over Sergio Macias. Give a shout out to Matt Wood. They're running in 3rd place right now. We haven't seen a whole lot of him this year, and when we have, he hasn't had the best of luck. He qualified 4th at Watkins Glen, but his computer blue screened while he was on the grid. He put on quite an impressive charge through the field during that race to finish 8th place. And then the next race we saw him after that was at Sebring, where he never shone. He really struggled there. Today it looks like Matt Wood, though, having a solid day. A race going to plan so far with him running in the bronze position.
Yeah, he's solidly in that top 3 podium spot. He's got a little bit of a buffer to Ove Trinkerade, who's always out here running well. So that's a good job for those guys. And but it's all spread out pretty evenly up front. Gurno's just kind of left Sergio in the dust there. He's almost got the whole straightaway ahead as they come around the start-finish line there to start lap 7.
Battle for the 11th, going down the hill. Andreas Nielsen trying to make a move. Oh, on Jean-Francois Matt, who throws it into the turn and keeps the position. Andreas Nielsen has actually been one of our bigger movers in the early portions of the race, although our colleague Bill Zahn will caution me as to giving him an award for that, considering the fact Nielsen didn't turn the lap during qualifying, but still going from 20th to 12th here in the opening 6 laps of the race.
Yeah, and he's looking for more here. He's right behind Jean-Francois Mate. And Jean-Francois didn't want to have anything of that pass. He pretty much shut the door on him pretty hard into that downhill turn 11. But Andreas is right back on his tail here.
Behind them, Brewster just had a bit of an off in the first corner, but he comes back out onto the track, so we'll keep our eye on this battle for 11th. It looks like Nielsen has been trying to make a move down that long downhill straight into turn 11. It looks like that's where he's been trying to make those moves stick. As you mentioned at the top of the show, Richie, the best passing opportunity on the track. So right now he's kind of just running behind the 13 car and trying to size him up for passing in the next couple of corners.
Yeah, it's a really good passing opportunity. It is tricky, though, because it goes really steep downhill. You really don't get a view of it on the camera angles too much, but it is a really good passing zone, and it comes into a tight corner, and you can get a good out-braking maneuver, which he's at that spot right now as they come down that hill right about where they're at. Looks like he's might make a move. He's sticking his nose in. No, he's going to decide better of it.
So I wonder if he'll wait for another lap to try that again, or if now he'll realize, okay, I'm stuck behind this guy, maybe I need to be a bit more creative with my passing attempts.
Well, I think, he's probably want to get there, because Kevin Polche is starting to pull ahead from them a little bit. So he's probably looking, he can get to that 10th spot. That would be awesome from starting from 20th position, but he's got to make a clean pass, and Jean-Francois has already shown that he's not going to give it to him easily.
One more good passing opportunity coming up here into turn 5. We'll keep an eye on these guys for one more turn, but Nilsson doesn't get a good enough exit. So let's go back up to 7th place, because Barry West, we saw him pass Sami Villamarchi early on in the race, but he has not been able to pull away from that 9 car.
No, he definitely hasn't. In fact, the last lap, Sammy was about a half a second faster than him. So Sammy's hanging tight, but Barry's started 8th and 7th. These guys swap positions here from their starting positions, and I'm sure Sammy wants that back. Sammy's got a little buffer behind him to Francisco Javier Gutierrez, so he doesn't have to worry about that too much. It's nice to see Barry have a good race. I knew he was upset last time, and he's steadily been improving, each week here as we go through the season.
You see Gernot Frisch resets the fastest lap of a race at a 1:38.3. You'll see that many times throughout the duration of this event, because the Lotus 79 responds better to light fuel loads than it does to worn tyres, and honestly there's not going to be a whole lot of tyre wear today because of the track being so cool. The top 4 have really broken away from the rest of the field, Richie. Frisch, Macias and Wood we've already well documented. But what about Ove Chantre having a nice race, a quiet race, but a nice race nonetheless up there in 4th position?
Yeah, basically the top 6 people are running exactly where they qualified, and like you said, the top 4 have separated themselves out quite a bit. Ove's got an 11-second gap over Pablo Suarez in 5th spot, and he's got about a half a second gap to John Stevens. So John Stevens been creeping up on him. So this battle's going to start heating up. And unfortunately for Suarez, he's always in this position. He's always got somebody he's got to hold off, and he does a great job with it. But John is looking to take that spot from him very soon. Yeah, he's close right up behind him. He's coming up to, I believe, coming up to turn 10. And they'll make this tight hairpin to the right, and they're going to come down to that turn 11 spot. Looks like Suarez got a little bit better run than John off that corner, so I don't know if it's going to give John a passing opportunity just yet. But, next probably opportunity is going to be going into turn 1. Yep, not quite close enough there. Meanwhile, yep, go ahead.
Yeah, you can definitely set up for a better passing opportunity in turn 1 by the way in which you approach that final chicane. Meanwhile, Sergio Macias actually just ran off course from 2nd place. Even our top contenders who are running out there without a whole lot of pressure, not immune to mistakes.
No, he's trying pretty hard here, I think, to keep up with Gernot, and I think Gernot's just been racing this. Sergio hasn't raced this season at all, so he's still working with that setup, and there he goes off the track. Fortunately, he had a big buffer to Matt Wood, and he's still got a 3-second gap back to 3rd place, so he's all fine and dandy to keep on going.
quickly approaching the halfway portion of this Grand Prix. As we mentioned, this is round 9 of 12 of the Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship. Next week we will be a bit further south in Japan at the Suzuka circuit.
Yeah, that's a great track as well. That's a little more popular to run, so maybe we'll see some of all the big hitters there and get that points battle a little bit tighter. Meanwhile, John Stevens has not given up on Pablo. He is right behind him, and this battle has slowed them down a little bit, and it's allowed Barry West to start creeping into them about a couple tenths of a second a lap. So we might see a good battle for 5th spot between 3 cars pretty soon. Meanwhile, Jean-Francois and the Andreas Nielsen battle is still hot and heavy as they coming down towards turn 11. It looks like Nielsen's going to make a move. He's right behind him. Here he goes. He's going to pull in, try to outbrake him, and he's got it done. Nice job. He really was patient with that move, and now he's going to set his sights off on Kevin Colche in front of him.
Yeah, Colche only a couple of seconds up the road. He's actually made a couple of moves in the early stages himself, starting 12th and is now up to 10th place. However, I have a feeling now that Nielsen has finally been let loose again, he might run him down in a bit of a hurry.
Yeah, it's only a 1.5 second gap, so he's running, at least a tenth or so a lap faster than him, so he should be able to get up there fairly quickly. We still have, basically, we're not even halfway to this race, so we got a long ways to go still. Meanwhile, this battle with Pablo Suarez and John Stevens is still heating up. John's kind of faster than him, but it seems like he's faster than him in the wrong parts of the track. So he kind of gets in deep and then loses that drive off the corner. So I think he needs to try to roll into the braking zone a little bit softer, like he did right coming up. And then he loses that drive going down into turn 11. So kind of change that approach a little bit. Slow in, fast out, they say.
So got a 3-way battle for 10th place shaping up, if not this lap, maybe next time around, as Colche making his way through the turn 10 hairpin right now, and sure enough, I think Nielsen is too far back to attempt anything realistically. Meanwhile, a driver who we gave a shout out at the start of the race, haven't really kept up with him since then, is a driver ahead of this battle in 9th position, a quiet race from Francisco Javier Gutierrez, who, if he can just keep this going, will pick up a lot of iRacing points today in that number 18 car. Yeah,
absolutely. You got some high iRating drivers up front, so this is going to make the strength of field pretty high there. But meanwhile, I was surprised how fast Andre Nielsen caught up to Kevin Colche, so it's going to be a good battle for this 10th spot, and he's brought along Jean-Francois with him.
Jean-Francois Matt has already dropped back a bit on Nielsen. I know you say he's brought him along with him, but Nielsen is definitely showing how much he was being held up by that 13 car. Not too far behind them all. Robert Simpkins is back in 13th place.
Meanwhile, Gurno Frisch up front is opened up to a 6.8 second gap. He's just doing his thing out there, setting fast laps each time he goes by. He's down to a 38.1. Meanwhile, Sergio is holding steady with second spot. His best lap's a 38.5, so he's losing about 0.4 of a second a lap. And behind him is Matt Wood, who's another 4 seconds back. So not much changing up in the top 3. And then you got Ove doing his thing as well. He's running strong and running about the same times as Matt Wood, but he's 2 seconds behind. So he's not in a real battle for that podium spot just yet.
Trying to figure out, Richie, what is causing the massive spread in times that we have seen here today. And I've got to imagine it's the fact that we just have these slow turns and so much power in this Lotus 79. Some of the drivers are just able to handle the wheel spin out of those slow corners a lot better than others.
That and maybe a little bit of setup. You know, we very rarely see track temperatures this low. We're down to 70 degrees. So, you know, if you're not prepared for that or not know how to handle the car in that type of temp, you're going to drive the car a little bit more cautiously. But yeah, usually we got a little bit more of a close battles going on. But meanwhile, we do have a couple of good ones. Suarez and John Stevens. John's is right up behind Suarez. He's not giving up on that top 5 spot just yet.
I have a feeling, though, these two must have earned an immense amount of trust for each other throughout the season, because I think this is about the 4th race we've called where they've been nose to tail.
Yeah, they always seem to be right about this position, nose to tail, although it seems to be more Suarez in front of John, but I'm sure John is tired of following that I believe that's a Ligier right in front of him as well. They either like racing with each other or they absolutely hate it.
There was almost a pass for 14th position a couple moments ago. Kurt Burnett trying to hold off a hard-charging Christopher Michael Howard.
Well, we're going to move on the outside here with Andrea Nielsen and Kevin Kolsch. Andreas tried to go around the outside of him in turn 10, and now they're coming down towards turn 11. And Kevin's running a defensive line. He's running right down the middle of the track, so he's feeling the heat from Andreas.
Yeah, again, Nielsen didn't turn a lap during qualifying. We've seen him able to work his way up through the field. However, each pass is going to get a little bit trickier as he captures these faster drivers. And trouble for Simpkins. Robert Simpkins, we believe, may have just had an off course. He's been running in 13th. He's still there.
Yeah, he's got some heavy damage to the front of that car, but yeah, he's kind of shortcut the chicane a little bit, went straight over the curbs, and he's struggling a little bit right now. He's got to just gather back up and start putting those laps in, just like we talked about at the Nurburgring. Sometimes you just got to race the track and not worry about everybody else around you.
And there Nielsen finally makes the pass around the outside of Kolche, heading into turn number 5. And now that'll work very well for him here, because this left-right set of S's, you really want that front-end downforce, and Nielsen should be able to pull away from Kolche, having that advantage.
Yeah, that was a strong power move right around the outside. I was watching Kevin. He kept running, blocking on the inside. So, Andreas had enough of that and just went around the outside of him. Now he's got a pretty hefty gap to Francisco Gutierrez. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to catch him, but it's a good move up from 20th to 11th spot for him. Francisco running strong in that 18 car. He's got a pretty low I rating as well, so there's going to be a good points haul for him if he can hold tight. So nice job to him. Meanwhile, Barry West is kind of pulled away from Sammy Villavacchi. He's kind of running by himself in 7th spot, but Sammy is battling here with Francisco Gutierrez. So Gutierrez is closed right up behind Sammy Villavacchi for that, looking to kind of gain one more spot, jump into that top 8 position.
Yeah, meanwhile, 5th place closer than it's been in a while. Can't imagine Stevens is too happy following Suarez right now, because if he was content to just ride there, he wouldn't be tucked up on his rear wing all like that. However, the problem is, as we just mentioned, as they go through the S curve, turns 7 and 8, if you're tucked up right behind the car in front of you, you're really not able to get through there that well.
Yeah, and as we see a little bit of a dive bomb move from John Stevens, and like I said earlier, maybe kind of back that braking zone up a little bit and try to get the run off the corner so you can get him in the braking zone for the next corner. So John's getting a little impatient, and it looks like his car's faster in the wrong areas. He's faster under braking, but he loses the grip off the corner. And Pablo's just doing a good job. He's not doing any blocking or anything. He's just driving his line.
All 21 starters are still in the race. Just 19 of them left on the lead lap now. And when you look towards the cars at the tail end of the field, that they all have a bit of front wing damage from clipping the curb too much or going off course. And you documented the damage to Robert Simpkins' front wing after going off a little while ago, Richie. And I believe that's affecting him because he lost 13th place to Christopher Michael Howard. And in fact, Kurt Burnett, I think, is thinking about making a move for 14th in a not-too-distant future. Yeah,
it's funny you said that, because Christopher Michael Howard also has a bunch of damage on his front wing. So These guys in the back are racing hard and, you know, keeping it going. Looks like we have everybody still running. All 21 cars are still out there running. So that's nice to see. Steve Sarlis hasn't been able to make too much spots up from his first lap incident, and he's running in 19th position. Whoa! Oh! And just as I say that, sorry, I cursed Steve Sarlis there. He's going to back up and continue on, just add to that damage. And unfortunately, he's going to lose a couple more spots as well.
Oh, yes. Yep, sure enough. And now he's coming into the pits. This is actually the first time we have seen the car down pit road today. Now, of course, they're not meant to be in the pits as we return to this battle for 5th.
There goes John. Like I say, he does that little dive bomb move right there, and he's just not quite close enough, and then he loses all the speed coming off the corner. So I don't know if he's just trying to unnerve Pablo to make a mistake, but I believe John's faster than him. He's just got to just time the passing out maybe just a little bit better. I believe he can get in front of Suarez. He just kind of pull away steadily. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on this battle, as it is the best battle on the track so far.
And we're running out of laps. You see, only 10 laps left to go. We're running out of laps for Stevens to try and find a way by Suarez. Although there's enough passing opportunities on the circuit, it can definitely be done on the last lap of the event.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Right down to that turn 11, you can just dive bomb the guy if you really need to. We also have a good battle as Francisco Gutierrez is challenging Sammy Villamache, and he's going to try right there. He really got a good run, but not quite the drive off the corner. So this battle's heated up for that 8th position as well.
Yeah, Villamache was up in 7th early on. That's where he qualified. Lost that to Barry West.
Yeah, he doesn't want to lose another position here. As Francisco's done a good job, and he's closed right up on the back of Sammy. So Sammy's has his hands full trying to hold him off for these last 10 laps here. Up front, not much has changed. Everybody's spread out. First place is Gurno, 8-second lead over Sergio Macias, who has a 6-second lead over Matt Wood, who has a 3-second lead over...
Oh, and the contact happened! Stevens just gone to the back of Suarez in the braking zone, down into turn 11. They both continue in the positions they were in, but who has more damage with either?
And that has brought Barry West right into the game right here. So here's replay. And I don't know, like he just forgot to step on the brake and decided to give him the chrome horn, as Paul Tracy likes to call it. And I don't know, I'm sure he didn't mean to do it on purpose, but they got to keep going. No harm, no foul, didn't lose any positions.
Yeah, but you've been documenting it, Richie, that Stevens has been much later on the brakes than what Suarez has throughout the race. They're finally bitten both there, because Suarez has a handy lead over Stevens. And looks like they might have both gotten away without too much damage. He hit him square enough.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A little damage on John's front wing, but not too much. But this has brought Barry West right into the mix. He's right behind John Stevens now. So that's what Barry needed, because he was kind of running all by himself there. And now he can smell that top 6 position if he can just kind of keep it clean. And John's got to just kind of settle in and try to just drive some clean laps here. I think he's got a quick car, but I think he was getting a little frustrated being behind Suarez that whole time.
Now, Barry West and John Stevens actually had an incident of their own at the season opener at Watkins Glen. Stevens came off better that day, but they have battled cleanly since then. So hopefully that's in the distant memory books. Meanwhile, you may have noticed a little while ago, Gurno reset the fastest lap on lap number 18. He was the first driver there, duck into the 137s.
Yeah, he's just getting faster and faster as that fuel load burns off. I didn't notice that Steve Sarlis is disconnected, so he's out of the race. He's our only driver that has stepped out of the car for this event. That's too bad for Team Ferrari.
Still a step above what Ligier are doing today, though. Now, of course, there's always the chance that now this is round 9. If neither team Well, I take that back, actually, because the team championship only accounts 2 drop weeks during the season, so only... but as far as the drivers go, this is round 9, so, you know, one of your races, if you've been in every round this season, one of your races won't count after today, even in the official series standings. And you just gotta hope it's not this one.
You watch on screen that battle with Gutierrez and Sammy Villamaki is still heating up. Andrea Nielsen, who started 20th, is all the way up to 10th spot. He's quite a ways back, so he's just kind of doing his thing behind these guys. But this battle is heating up, especially still between John Stevens and Barry West. Still holding steady, but Barry can sniff that 6th position fairly well. And here they come. Looks like Gutierrez is just poking his nose out, just trying to make Sammy make a mistake here, but not quite yet.
And West looking down the inside, John Stevens into the turn. Of course, though, as he showed us the hard way a few laps ago, John Stevens is not going to be beat under braking.
Oh, Barry's starting to get heated on him. This is good to see.
Let's go back to 10th place, though, because Andreas Nielsen just had an off at the hairpin. That might cost him that position they worked so hard on Kevin Coles for.
Yeah, Kevin Coles just got back by him, and it's also brought in Jean-Francois Motegi back into the battle here. So all that work that Andreas did, he's got to fight back for it with 7 laps to go.
So running out of time, we got the battle for 6th going on. I don't think Stevens is going to be able to run down Suarez, but of course he's still defending against Barry West. The battle for 8th also on between Valimarki and Gutierrez, which you just mentioned, and now a 3-way battle for 10th as well in the closing stages here.
Yeah, that mistake by Andreas has heated up the battle for us to watch, as we got a 3-way battle for that 10th spot. And you know, Andreas has shown he can get around Kevin. He made the pass around the outside, so I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't make another move here fairly soon. But he's got to be careful because he has Jean-Francois right behind him waiting to pick up any mistakes these guys make. Meanwhile, up front, Gurno's made it a real stinker up out of the front of the group here. He's just pulled away, still doing 137s, 138, low 138s, 9-second lead. And he's lapped all the way up to, looks like 15th spot at the moment.
Yeah, actually just got by a 3-way battle for 13th going on, so now just 12 cars left on the lead lap. Kurt Burnett currently holding down 13th place, Robert Simpkins and Glenn Corrigan close for 14th. I should imagine with the number 7 on his car, Glenn Corrigan would have hoped he'd been able to pick up more cars throughout this event. He's up to 15th from now after not turning the lap in qualifying. He started 19th.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough if you don't. I mean, obviously, Andreas has moved up, 9 spots, but you got to put a lap in, and it's really hard to make up that time. And it's just quite kind of a short race here with only 26 laps.
All right, Barry West has a good run on John Stevens as they come up to the S's. Oh, we're going to think about the outside. It was a bit of a fake. He looked down the inside, and Stevens holds onto it.
Yeah, that was really close, too. He was right behind him, really close to clipping him, but Barry's doing a good job staying with him through the S's because you do lose that front downforce, as you talk about. Here they come, coming up. Ooh, he's right up underneath him. He's going to try to outbrake him into turn 10, thinks better of it. Oh, and John kind of opened the door and let him back through, and here they come down that straightaway to turn 11. And Barry's made that pass. He's just going to have to stay in the middle, try to block him out.
Well, from what I've seen today, you're not going to outbrake John Stevens. Your better bet, your best bet, and I think Barry West adapted to this, is to kind of drive in a little bit easier on the corners and beat him on the exit. The problem West really has to watch out for right now, of course, is if Stevens is late on the brakes again, he's got to protect his rear wing in this in the next couple of corners here. If he can break that gap, though, between himself and the 5-car Stevens, he does seem to have a faster car right now.
Yeah, he's been putting in some really some good laps lately, just kind of consistently just hounding down John. And here we go. John's going to try to dive bomb him again, and then he loses that drive off the corner. So John just needs to kind of think about it a little bit differently as John goes off the track, and that might give Barry just a little bit of the breather he needs with only 5 laps to go.
Now I wonder if Barry West is thinking about maybe even running down 5th place. He started in 8th, he's up to 6th now, so he's definitely been on the move. But does it also Suarez carrying any extra damage from that incident he had with Stevens a few laps ago?
He's got about a 2-second gap he needs to bridge here, and looking at the lap times, they're running about the same laps as about at a 140.7. So looking at Suarez's car, doesn't look like he has really any damage, so he got away with one there. And but Barry's doing a good job. His nice move up from basically from 8th to 6th spot on the grid.
Yeah, I do wonder though if we haven't had a true indication in the last few laps of what West can do, because he was stuck behind John Stevens. It'll be interesting to see, maybe not necessarily what their lap times are this time by, because West was still battling Stevens a little bit, but next lap, see if he is able to eat into that lead a little bit. As they come across the line this time by, though, for the record, West was 2/10 faster than Suarez.
We also have a good battle still going on with Kevin Kolsch and Andreas Nielsen. Still hasn't been able to get back around him, so I thought he would be able to get back around him pretty quickly because he was quite a bit faster, but Kevin's doing a good job holding them off as they come through the S's up the front stretch to begin their 22nd lap here.
We're completing lap 22, beginning lap 23. Kolsch ahead of Nielsen. Now remember, the way Nielsen made this work earlier on, he spent a couple of laps behind Kolsch and then he did an outside move on turn 5. Is he going to look down the inside in turn 3? He looks, and he's going to get his car alongside. And once again, it's going to happen in this turn 4 area. Nielsen up into the top 10 again. Yeah, Kolsch has that.
Yep, go ahead.
Here we go. Mate on the outside, Kolsch on the inside, down into turn 5.
Yeah, it looked like Andreas wasn't sure if he was going to do it or not. He looks like he braked, got off the brake, got off the brake, and Kevin kind of just opened the door. His spotter probably told him someone was there and just opened the door and let Andreas through. But unfortunately, that slowed him down enough to let Jean-Francois Mate to get right back on behind him as well. So, you know, if I was Kevin at this point in the race, I would have shut the door right on him and made him work a little harder for that position.
This means the one last battle we really have in the top 10 that hasn't been resolved yet is the one for 8th place, where Francisco Javier Gutierrez, who has been having an excellent race, just keeps hounding the back of Sammy Villamarchi. But I almost wonder if this is hindering him a bit, Richie. The fact that he's thinking, man, you know, I'm the number 18 car running in 9th place in a pretty strong split. Maybe I should just settle for 9th. You know, he'd love 8th, but he doesn't want to risk losing what he's going to gain out of today. You see him, though, knocking down all the cones on the entry of turn 3 there, so he's definitely trying to make that turn as wide as possible. So less than 2 laps left to go for our race leader now, Gernot Frisch, who has opened the lead to Macias to 11 seconds. And in less than 3 minutes, if everything goes to plan, Frisch should be able to pick off another victory today. We also see him win at Sebring. He got a win at VIR. He won at Alton Park. That was a fascinating one after a late race battle with Moreira, and he absolutely dominated Zandvoort. And now it looks like Frisch is going to be able to add another victory, providing he can get through the last 1.5 laps, incident free, and he has a 12.5 second lead right now over Macias, so no reason why he shouldn't be able to do exactly just that. Matt Wood holding on to 3rd solidly ahead of Ove Trantre. That top 4 we mentioned earlier on was breaking away from the rest of the field. There is a 40-second gap pretty much between Ove Trantre in 4th place back to Pablo Suarez in 5th, and of course Suarez has a bunch of cars behind him. That's where most of our battles have been going on throughout this race. So kudos to those top 4. They've just been in a class of their own today in reality. And the battle for 8th still not solved. In fact, the battle for 6th brewing again a little bit. John Stevens isn't letting Barry West get comfortable with that 6th position. And the last lap board was out just a couple moments ago for Gernot Frisch, who is looking to soon be the victor here today at the Motegi circuit for round 9 of the Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship. Remember, we'll be back at Suzuka in 1 week's time here on the Global SimRacing Channel for round 10 as the championship enters its closing stages. Gernot Frisch looks to continue the build on his lead in the driver's standings, while over in the team championship, this will be a good day for Ferrari, eat into that deficit that Ligier has over them. And keeping half an eye on the battle for 9th as well as other battles throughout the field. Just 12 cars going to be left on the lead lap here when all is said and done. Maybe even 11 if Gernot Frisch could get a bit greedy in the closing couple of turns, but I have a feeling that's far from his intentions. He just wants to bring the car safely home through turn 12, turn 13, and coming through turn 14, Gernot Frisch crosses the finish line and picks up another win here today at Motegi. A fantastic drive, and also a fantastic drive by the driver that will finish behind him, Sergio Macias. Welcome back, Sergio. He should be satisfied, I should imagine, with 2nd place on the podium today. Matt Wood, he's had a bit of misfortune this season. He'll pick up the bronze medal with a 3rd place finish. A nice battle going on for 13th, a lap down right behind him. Kurt Burnett just able to hold on ahead of Glenn Corrigan. 4th position will be Ove Trantre. Now what about 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th, because those all still close in the closing stages here, but I don't think, barring a mistake that any of these drivers are within striking range of each other as they come down to the bottom of a hill, with Suarez ahead of West ahead of Stevens ahead of Valamarki, and Gutierrez looks like he will get a pretty impressive 9th position, it must be said. There they come across the line. No changes in the order. Valamarki and Gutierrez actually working their way through the final chicane right now, but once again, no changes in the order there. And it will be Andreas Nilsson rounding out the top 10 after carving his way through half of the field throughout today's race. Kevin Coltrane and Jean-Francois Matt will round out the top 10. We'll round out the lead lap finishes, rather. Alright, well, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global SimRacing Channel. We will be back with a full race rundown as well as drive interviews here on GSRC. Don't go away. Hello and welcome back to the Twin Wing Motegi, where we just witnessed 26 laps of racing action for round 9 of the Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship here on the Global SimRacing Channel. At the end of the day, it was Gernot Frisch taking home the win by over 13 seconds over Sergio Macias in second. Third place went to Matt Wood, who started there. Likewise, the case for Ove Trantre, Pablo Lumbrares Suarez as well. All of the drivers in the top 5 started where they finished. Barry West, on the other hand, had a nice race there. He started in 8th, finished in 6th, ahead of John Stevens and Sammy Villamarchi, the 2 drivers that he passed, who ranked 7th and 8th. Francisco Javier Gutierrez was able to hold on all race long, and at number 18, Carl to get a 9th place finish ahead of Andreas Nilsson, who carved his way through the field after starting 20th. Kevin Colche raced defensively at parts during the race, and it worked well for him. He started 12th, finished 11th, and then the last drive on the lead lap at the end of the thing was Jean-Francois Motegi in 12th position. First car lap down was Kurt Burnett. He had a nice little battle going on in the closing stages ahead of Glenn Corrigan in 14th, Christopher Michael Howard back in 15th, and Robert Simpkins in 16th. Jim Brewster down there in 17th place, and Francois Gagne there in 18th. Johnny Bell and Russell Hamilton rounding out the top 20. Again, none of these drivers necessarily involved in huge incidents, just didn't quite have a pace today. Steve Sales was our only driver who didn't finish, all the way back there in 21st place. Well, Richie, I believe you've caught up with our race winner, Gernot Frisch.
Gernot, welcome back after missing you last week. Gernot, welcome back. Pretty impressive win there. Let us know how it went.
Thanks, Richie. Yeah, I had really good pace around here, and yeah, Sergio usually is pretty up to my pace, but this time I was a couple of tenths, maybe quicker per lap, so it was not a super hard race for me. I tried to keep my focus and push enough to stay focused. Things went pretty well for me.
Yeah, after qualifying, we thought maybe Sergio might have had something for you, but he kind of just steadily pulled away, and it really the track was very cold. It looked a little tricky to drive on those first opening laps. Did you have to make any big changes to your setup for those temperatures?
Usually, I don't change anything. In that case, it didn't do really didn't do anything, and you just have to be careful of the first couple of corners. After the first lap, things are going quite well, and the good thing about a cold track is that you have more grip later on, so it's nicer to drive, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you did an excellent job. You kind of made it boring for us to watch up front in a good way for you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and like I said, we missed you a little bit watching for Nurburgring, and but you've closed up that gap a little bit on the points as some of your competitors weren't here today.
Yeah, points-wise, things are looking pretty good for me, but yeah, there's still some races to do, and yeah, Lenny Kravitz once sang it ain't over till it's over, so we have to wait. I have to keep pushing.
Yeah, I know. I was actually meaning about more of the team battle there with Antti not being there, and you and Steve probably hopefully close some team points up on those guys.
Yeah, true, but Andrew was here the race before, and he made just about the same points as me, and I think the team battle will be really hard for me and Steve. I think we're not really in a great position.
Well, we still have 3 more races after this, and hopefully will we see you at the next one?
Let's see. I'm not sure. There's also the Le Mans 24-hour race, so if I'm home that weekend, I might do the other one, which takes quite an effort. So yeah, not sure about Suzuka.
Yeah, I forgot that the iRacing Le Mans 24 hours is next week. And well, congratulations on a pretty standard win for you lately. You've kind of blown everybody away when you get up front like that, and congratulations, and maybe we'll see you next week. If not, we'll see you the week after that.
Okay, for sure. Thanks, Richie. Thanks for doing this. Bye-bye.
So that was our race winner, Gernot Frisch. We don't have to go much further down the order, though, to find our driver who finished in 6th place today, Barry West. This has got to cheer you up a bit after last week. Barry West, do you have a copy? Yeah, I've been hearing some sound going on in the background. Let's do a third time a charm here. Mr. Barry West, driver of the number 8 car, started 8th place, finished 6th. Give him a moment here. Try and see if he can fix his microphone. Yeah, Barry, we're not able to quite pick you up on this side, but from all of us here at GSRC, congratulations on another solid finish out there today. 6th place finish, definitely some consistent results coming West's way as we enter the closing rounds of the championship. Well, Retreat, it might have been a little bit processional up front, but definitely saw a lot of action going on in the back of a field. And you heard it from the man himself, Gernot Frisch, that even though things are going his way in the driver's standings, the team championship for sure is going to be heating up in these closing rounds.
Yeah, it was pretty standard victory for Gernot there, but yeah, that team championship is going to tighten up, and we have 3 races to go. I think those drop weeks are going to have a play in that as well, as they get 2 team drop weeks. And yeah, it was maybe not for the top 3 spots, weren't too exciting, but there were some really good battles with Barry and some of the other guys, with Suarez and some of the other guys that we were watching back in the midfield. So it was a good race for me to watch for sure.
And you'll get to see more racing this time next week here on GSRC from Suzuka. We would like to thank all of the organisers and the competitors from the Lotus 79 Classic Team Championship for choosing GSRC. We would also like to thank all of the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts, and there you can see them all listed on your screen. Additional thanks goes out to Eric Heckholm and June Lalonde, who provide us with our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of our great work. Thanks to the team today, Richie, Amjad and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, you can visit us at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel, and Instagram at GSRC_gram. All of the upcoming races for our other series are listed on your screen, so be sure to check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.